Hi vinyl community, it's Mike here, and today's video is a contest entry for John, and that's John, 6-inch pianist, and he's over here in the UK, and he's been making vinyl community videos for 10 years. I mean, can you believe that? 10 whole years of making vinyl community videos. I mean, I didn't even realise the vinyl community was that old, but there you go. And one of the things that John does on a regular basis, along with his mate Headley, and Headley's channel is another fat bearded man talking about records, is they do a thing called the Pub Juke Box, where they occasionally have guests on as well, and they show 3 singles, and they like to talk about them. And that's exactly what this contest is all about. All you have to do is show 3 singles that you'd like to be played on a pub jukebox on a Saturday night. Now, before I show the records, I mean, pub jukeboxes, they're something from my youth. I can remember back in the 70s when I first started going into pubs that any decent pub would have a really good jukebox. And there was nothing better than to, going up to a jukebox in the pub you've maybe not been in before. And it's absolutely crammed full of absolutely brilliant music. And it's a real pity because, the jukebox, the pub jukebox seems to have all but disappeared. And it was part of our cultural heritage, I think. Certainly, for people in the 1960s or 1970s, it was really quite something. Anyway, the first pub that I would say was a sort of regular pub of mine was a pub down in Eastbourne in Sussex, and it was called the Hurst Arms. And the Hurst Arms was one of these sort of quiet little sort of backstreet pubs, and it was stocked full of Harvey's beer, Harvey's Bitter, Sussex Bitter, one of my favourite beers of all time. And it wasn't far from the school that I was at, and underage drinking wasn't really frowned on all that much, back in the early 1970s. And when I was in sixth form, at lunchtimes, I used to go up to the Hurst Arms with my mates, and we would have a Scotch egg and half a cider for our lunch, and then back to school in the afternoon. Anyway, the pub itself was run by a lovely old couple, and they were called Charles and Daisy. And Daisy was a real sort of driving force behind the pub. And Charles was a little bit hard of hearing. So you go up to the bar and you'd say to Charles, 3 pints of bitter, please. And he'd say, okie dokie, 2 pints of lager coming right up. And, you'd have to use sign language. You'd have to say 3 and then point to the pump that you wanted the beer to come out of. And he'd get it. And the only person that could really make him hear properly was Daisy. Daisy just had this knack. She would speak to Charles and he'd understand immediately. But with the customers, he was absolutely terrible. He was a liability behind the bar, quite frankly. But he was a lovely, lovely man, and Daisy was a lovely woman. And the pub itself, as I say, it was a nice little sort of backstreet boozer. It had a pool table, a darts board, and most importantly, it had a fabulous jukebox. And there was a guy that used to go into the Hurst Arms, and he was called Mike. He was called Mike the Bike. He was a biker, and I think he had a Norton Commander. I think that's what it was. Or Norton Commando, isn't it? That's the 750cc motorbike. And Mike used to take charge of the jukebox, so he would decide what was on it. And these are some of the records that I'm sure made their way onto the jukebox in the early to mid 70s. In the Hurst Arms in Eastbourne. Now, as John says, it's got to be Saturday night in the pub, and so it's going to be a bit noisy. If it's a decent pub, it's going to be noisy, isn't it? So you've got to have something that you can hear above the crowd. So I've gone for these. So number 1 is, there you go, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. If you can't hear that above the crowd, then you need to get your hearing checked out, don't you? So that's the first one, Paranoid by Black Sabbath. And then I can remember also, back in the early 70s that Alice Cooper came on the scene in the UK. You know, there was Schools Out and Elected, and there was this, and I absolutely love this song. And this is Teenage Lament 74. Absolutely brilliant song. And being a teenager at the time, you know, I could really sort of relate to the lyrics on this. So there you go. So that's Alice Cooper, Teenage Lament 74 on Warner Brothers. And the final one is a bit of Deep Purple, and it's from, I think it's 1971, is it? It's 1971 on the Harvest label, the classics or Harvest label, and it's Fireball, which was the first Deep Purple record that I bought, was this single. So that's my three for you, John. And anybody else, I'll leave a link in the description to John's video. And I think you've got another week, so I think you've got till about the 7th of November to get your entry in. So everyone that's taken part, you know, good luck in the contest, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Bye.